Migrants are from all over North Africa and the Middle East, but the main point of departure is Libya. Now, the migrants are mostly trying to get to Spain, to Malta, to Italy, and the island of Lampedusa specifically, that's off the coast of Sicily. Now, last year, at least 280,000 migrants made it to Europe via the Mediterranean, but nearly 8,500 have arrived within the past 4 days or so. Now, we've got Nazanine Moshiri, our correspondent, who's covered this story extensively for us from so many different parts of the world. She's in another of our studios here in Doha. And we've also got another of our correspondents, Mohammed Jamjoon, who's in Beirut. He's in Beirut, and he can tell us more about the point of view from the Middle East. Mohammed, let me start with you by asking, of course, about the situation next door where you are in Syria, because that is proving to be the country that is providing the largest number of refugees entering into this European problem, isn't it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Martine. And when you talk about Lebanon, there's no way you can ignore the fact that this is a tiny country that's bursting at the seams with Syrian refugees. In fact, 1/4 of the population now is actually Syrian refugees. Now, the term that we hear most when refugees, be they Palestinian or Syrian, talk about trying to get on these boats, try to be smuggled to Europe, is journey of death. The saddest thing about it is that these refugees, who oftentimes spend their entire life savings to try to get smuggled onto these very unsecure voyages, they know that it is a terrifying, harrowing, horrific ordeal they are going to go through. They know that most of the time they may not even make it to their destination, but they simply have no recourse here in Lebanon. They certainly don't in Syria, and here there is absolutely no opportunity for them. Now, just a short while ago, we spoke with an official with one of the Palestinian refugee camps here in Beirut. They told us that there are indications now that at least 9 refugees, some Syrian and some Palestinian Syrian, were on this boat that capsized off the coast of Libya just a couple of days ago, and they're worried that the casualty toll will actually grow higher. But the fact of the matter is that these refugees that are here, they are desperate to get on these boats. Again, talking about Lebanon, this is a country where, for political reasons, you cannot have official encampments, official settlements. So there are makeshift camps that dot the landscape here where the living conditions are absolutely dire. The humanitarian crisis in these refugee communities grows worse by the day. It has been for many years now, and is the fact of the matter is that these refugees just don't have another option, and that's why they're going this route.
Mohammed, thanks very much for that. Now, Nazanine, as I said earlier, I mean, you have covered this story from very many different angles, haven't you? But the point of departure for so many of those seeking a new life for whatever reason is Libya. Why? Why is everybody coming towards Libya, making that the most popular point of departure at the moment?
Well, it's mainly because Libya is such a lawless place. It doesn't have a proper coast guard at the moment, so people are able to actually run the smuggling networks that are running or masterminding the travel of these migrants, and also because they're able to get into Libya quite easily and get out quite easily. Easily, I say. It is very difficult for the migrants there. They are being kept in horrendous conditions, some of them in detention. Some of them are working almost as slave labour to raise enough money to pay the $2,000 or so to smugglers to get them across. And when they get on these rickety boats, they do not have a trained captain. It's usually one of the migrants themselves who are forced to take over the control of the boat. And if they make it to Italy or to Malta, they are then prosecuted because they are basically the people who ran the boat from Libya to the coastline of Italy.
Nazanine, I was just wondering whether we should make the distinction between those people who are fleeing conflict, clearly like those who are trying to get away from Syria, and those who are really not running away from a war situation, but merely trying to better their prospects.
I mean, there are several types of migrants that I have spoken to, both in Malta and Italy and also in North Africa. Now, there are people who are fleeing war and conflict and human rights abuses like in Eritrea. And there are people who are fleeing poverty, who say that poverty is as bad as war for them, because if they do stay in those countries, they will die. So we've got a lot of West Africans, in particular Nigerians, people from Senegal, people also from Ebola-hit countries like Sierra Leone as well, who are also in Libya trying to raise the money to get to Europe. And for them, it is worth the risk because they do not want to go home. I've met people in Tunisia, for example, who've been rescued off the coast of Libya, who basically would like to go back to Libya at the soonest opportunity, even though it's dangerous for them, even though they risk either being killed in a detention centre, being tortured, or being forced into slave labour. They will risk everything rather than return home because they say they have no life at home. They'd rather just end up at the bottom of a sea in the Mediterranean.
OK, Nazanine Moshiri and Mohammed Jamjoon, thank you both.